It's curious, isn't it, how sometimes the very thing you feared the most becomes the gate to which strength walks in quietly, while you're still listening softly, learning to forget what you thought you feared. Because something deeper is waking up now. Yes, now. You're discovering something. Something old, something ancient. Something that was always yours. And as you wonder about that, you might remember what it's like to step into a new identity. Like putting on a cloak that fits just right, even though you didn't know you owned it. Because somewhere beneath the surface, something in you always knew that you are the one who survives, the one who adapts, the one who transforms fear into fuel, love into legacy, solitude into sovereignty. Maybe you've heard of the traveller who once feared being alone, until he met himself. And when he met himself, he found someone so powerful, so resourceful, so compassionate, and so quietly fierce, that the idea of being alone became ludicrous. Because how can you ever be alone when the one that you're looking for was breathing through your chest all along? And maybe it reminds you of how every goodbye holds the seed of a new strength. That every time you feared losing someone, you're actually discovering their love had already taken root inside you. And roots don't die, do they? No, they deepen, especially when watered by remembrance. I fear the death of loved ones becomes I carry their strength with me. They never leave. They live through my actions, my courage, my growth. Their death is not an end, but a transformation. I fear being alone. Funny, because alone can be pronounced all one. And all one is the opposite of alone. It's everything. It's where you realise this silence is sacred, this stillness is full, this solitude, it's space where I finally hear my own soul speaking. Can you hear it now? Isn't it strange how something inside you is already changing? Not because I say so, but because something deeper knows so. I fear being fully responsible for myself. Of course, responsibility is terrifying, until you realise it's just another word for power. Until you remember I'm the architect of my future. I design the world I walk through. My strength multiplies the more I use it. And the illusion that others must carry you fades. And your spine straightens. And your voice gets deeper. And the ground beneath you becomes more solid. And you realise support isn't missing. It's changing form. And you are becoming the very support you thought you'd lose. Let's loop this deeper. Back to that moment, that memory, when a child looked around and wondered, what if they leave me? What if I'm alone? And the child was told, you're never alone. Because even in absence, their presence echoes. Even in silence, their love speaks. Even when the world shifts, your roots remain. And now that child has grown into you, with eyes open wider, and a heart that knows how to hold itself. Let me give you an example. Imagine you're climbing a mountain, and you think, what if I fall? But with each step you find balance. Not because the rocks are steady, because you've learned to adjust. Because falling once taught your feet to grip deeper, tighter. And fear taught you to breathe slow. And solitude taught your mind to focus. You don't avoid the climb anymore. You become the climber. You become the summit. You become the sky. Isn't it fascinating how language is just a spell we cast with our breath? And how your unconscious is listening between the words, hearing the truths you didn't even know were hidden there. You are resilient. You're already healing. You're becoming your own support system. You're never truly alone. You're powerful in your presence. And if you forget all of this later, that's okay. because forgetting is just remembering in reverse. And what's installed can bloom when it's needed most. So take this new frame, this new code, this new OS, where fear becomes fascination, loss becomes legacy, solitude becomes sovereignty, uncertainty becomes adventure, responsibility becomes freedom. And you might wonder, how else could this change show up now? Because it will, in your breath, in your voice, in your strength. And the way you suddenly remember, you never needed saving. You only needed waking up. So ask yourself, if I could be supported even when no one is around, if I could carry the love of others like fire in my chest, if I could make peace with death and dance with life, what would I do next? Because you already are. And that's the secret. It's not something you become. It's something you uncover. And you're uncovering it now. Even if you forget this consciously, you'll remember it deeply. At just the right time, when it matters most. And all the fears, like leaves in the wind, can fall. As something new rises within you. A system reborn. A belief awakened. A rhythm remembered. You're not alone. You're not afraid. You're becoming. You're already home.